This video deals with student login accounts as well as enrolling the students into your Moodle course. Now this varies greatly between schools as far as what the policies are for who creates accounts, how they get created, and so forth. So you may want to check with your Moodle administrator or another teacher that's already using Moodle to determine what the process is for these types of things. But it's really a two-step process. First of all, the student has to have an account in order to log into Moodle itself. Once they've logged in, they also have to be enrolled into any courses that they need to actively participate in. There is a possibility that you could give the students just guest access to your course. We talked about that a little bit under course administration, edit settings, and way down here at the bottom under guest access, you can set that to yes, and then you can set a password. But remember that if you give only guest access, you can give out resources to the students, but you can't collect assignments from them. There's no grading. They can't participate in forums and a lot of other activities within Moodle itself. So having the students have their own login account is a very helpful feature. It may be that the student login account is automatically created and is identical to their network login account. Again, you can check with your Moodle administrator or network person for that information. If you have access to create student accounts, it would be under Site Administration, Users, Accounts, and then you can browse a list of users, or in the case we're talking about here, you'd be able to add a new user. And if you do have that access, which probably you won't, you have to create anything that's got an asterisk next to it is required. So their username, which has to be unique on the system, you have to give them a new password. We typically just set the password up to be change me, and then we check this box, which forces the student to change their password at the first login. You need to know their first and last name, their email address, the city or town. A lot of districts use that for other purposes. We use it for like graduation years, so it's a quick way for us to delete out students once the grad year has passed. The country is typically predefined, and those are the required items. Everything else is optional, and then you would hit create user. Again, that gets the student an account that they can log into Moodle with, but it doesn't actually allow them into your course yet. So let's focus on that part because that's the part that you're more likely to have to deal with anyway. So under administration, users, and then enrolled users, this would be a list of anybody that's already enrolled in your course, and this is going to be sort of the hard way of doing it, so I'll show you that first. This is where you do it manually, so I'd hit enroll users and either one of these buttons would do it. It'll bring up for me every student that's on the Moodle server. So in my case, there's 2,416 users. That's both students and teachers. And then I would just do a search. So I'll just type in Smith. I've got several different Smiths here. Hopefully I know which one I'm looking for. I would leave the assign role to be student. And then I would say, okay, I want Cheyenne Smith to be a student in my class. I would hit enroll. I could then continue. Maybe I want to find somebody named Jones. So this Calissa Jones here, I'm going to enroll her. When I'm all done, I would hit finish enrolling students, and the screen will refresh, and I'll see that these two students are now enrolled in my particular course. And I can also see when the last time it was that they logged into the Moodle server. If I make a mistake, or the student's no longer in my class, over here at the far right, I can delete the student completely from my class. Are you sure? It doesn't delete their account, it just removes them from your course. I could also just remove their student role. If I remove that, then they really effectively have no access to my course either. So either one of those will do it. This one completely gets them out of the course itself. So I'm going to take them back out that way. And like I said, this is really the hard way of doing it. The preferred way is to go under enrollment methods, and we're going to turn on self-enrollment. So when I go in there, you'll see that manual enrollments is the only one that's actually listed here currently. But when I see the list, I can see that self-enrollment's also a choice. It's just that it's hidden right now with that show hide. In this case, they're calling it enable. So I'm going to enable that. And I'm going to go into the settings of it. So I'm going to click on the edit cog. And the main couple things that I want to change here, the most important one is the enrollment key. The enrollment key is sort of the password that the students will use to enroll themselves in my course, and that can be anything you want it to be, but it is case sensitive. Okay. If you have groups set up in your course, first hour, second hour, third hour, sharing the same course, you would set a group enrollment key to yes, and then you'd have to set a separate enrollment key for each hour so that the system knows which hour to put them into. By default, you want them to be a student. You can set when it is that this is active for, so I only want it active between January 7th and January 15th or whatever. I can check these boxes and then set the dates accordingly. Do I want to automatically unenroll the student after a certain number of days, maybe at the end of the semester or at the end of the year? If you really have any control over this, you can set the maximum enrolled user count. Maybe it can only seat 30 students, so once it hits 30, I'm not going to let anybody else in. Unfortunately, you typically don't have any control over that. So if I've set that information, then what will happen is when the students log into Moodle and they click on my course for the first time, they'll be prompted for an enrollment key. If they type the key in exactly as we have it on this screen, they'll automatically enroll themselves into my course, and from that point forward they will no longer get that prompt. It'll just take them right to my course. So that is definitely the preferred way of enrolling students into your course. Guest access, we talked a little bit from the edit settings menu, but you can also control it here, turning it on or off. The only thing I don't think you can do from here, I don't see the settings related to assigning a password to it. So it is enabled right now, but I'd have to go under course settings to actually change the password for that.